The most powerful video we've shown all year, isn't it? Oh my goodness. Boy, I would say those people had a bad day. And then some, right? They, talk about being overwhelmed. So, let's see, last week we talked about knowing that God is great. Remember? Knowing that God is able and staying focused on God when we feel overwhelmed. So today we're going to talk about what happens when that bad day turns into just a worse day. It just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. I'm sure we've all been, and what cracks me up in that video is how many people sat around and just watched them. Just let them, which probably they either understand the situation, they know exactly what that person's going through. Just let them go, right? Just let them go. Better to just let it fly, but we're going to talk about that today. Where there's a lot of instances. Getting to the end of our rope, getting so frustrated that we can't deal anymore, is nothing new, friends. Is nothing new. If anything, it probably is more rampant today than it has been in the past. Technology pushes us, our busy schedules push us, time elements push us. But let's look at a few people in the Bible that they said, God, I'm done, take me. I've reached the end, just let it be done. Look at Moses. Starting with Moses, who the kids are talking. Moses, this great man that delivered a whole generation from slavery. The Lord would speak as Moses face to face, as one who speaks to a friend. He was connected with God. He was talking with God. And yet we see him say in the next one here, I can't carry all these people by myself. The load is far too heavy. If this is how you intend to treat me, just go ahead and kill me. Do me a favor and spare me this misery. I can't take it, God. Enough. Right? Moses said that. Moses said that. Elijah, one of the most powerful prophets in the Bible. When he spoke, people listened. Another guy had a direct connection with God, and he was struggling. 1 Kings 19 says Elijah was afraid and fled for his life. He went to Beersheba, a town in Judah, and he left his servant there. He then went on alone into the wilderness, traveling all day. He sat down under a solitary broom tree and prayed that he might die. I've had it, God. I've had enough. Take my life, for I'm no better than my ancestors who have already died. I'm fed up. Can you feel it, people? Do you connect with it? Right? Even Paul had a terrible, no good, very bad days. Paul, the person who began his life killing Christians, had this transformational experience that rocked his world and became God's biggest cheerleader and biggest cheerleader of churches and Christians everywhere. Paul, this top of the line Paul here. 2 Corinthians 1:8 says, we think you ought to know, dear brothers and sisters, about the trouble we went through in the province of Asia. We were crushed and overwhelmed beyond our ability to endure, and we thought we would never live through it. You see, friends, we have all had bad days. You're not alone. Is that relief or what? Right? How do we respond to these bad days? That really speaks to us. It speaks to our faith, speaks to the type of person we are. How do we respond to those? So that's what we're going to look at this morning. But first things first. If you're having a bad day, a bad year, a bad month, you're not alone. There's people in the exact same place, and we can't overcome it. We can go back to last week, remembering that God is great and God is able, staying focused on Jesus, right? But then how do we respond when these circumstances begin to overwhelm us? Because as you know, it happens with something small, and then the next thing builds on it, and the next thing builds on it. They may be related or they may not be related, but they build up on you until you can't feel no more. You go to your car, you pull out the sledgehammer, and you bring it back and smash the computer. That's what happens, right? So I searched and searched for the exact perfect video clip that represents this idea of being overwhelmed. And I think I found it. Take a look.
What are you doing up here? I thought you were downstairs boxing chocolates. Oh, they kicked me out of there fast. Why? I kept pinching them to see what kind they were. The fourth department I've been in. I didn't do so well either. All right, girls. Now
Fine, you're doing splendidly. Speed it up!
Nailed it, didn't I? Best clip. That's what happens. Life comes at us too fast, and we just can't simply keep up. Now let's get ourselves back into Daniel. We talked about Daniel quite a bit last weekend. Let's get back into his story. So Daniel was taken, captured. They wanted to change his name. They forced him to learn a new language, all the customs, but he stayed focused on God. He remembered that God was great and God was able. So we're going to pick that story up in that same place. So Babylon had a string of power-hungry kings, but Nebuchadnezzar might have been one of the most unstable rulers of them all. So we're going to pick the story up here to talk about this king and what he wanted to happen and who was going to make it happen and how overwhelming it was for Daniel, but what was his response to all this, okay? So we're looking at chapter 2 here. Chapter 2 of Daniel, the first verse. So in the second year of his reign, Nebuchadnezzar had dreams. His mind was so troubled, he could not sleep. So the king summoned the magicians, enchanters, sorcerers, and astrologers to tell him what he had dreamed. When they came in and stood before the king, he said to them, "I had a dream that troubles me, and I want to know what it means." Then the astrologers answered, "May the king live forever. Tell your servants the dream, and we will interpret it." The king replied to the astrologers, "This is what I have firmly decided. If you do not tell me what my dream was and interpret it, I will have you cut into pieces and your houses turned into piles of rubble." No pressure. It's kind of like, get this job done by 5 o'clock and it's 4:55, right? "But if you tell me the dream and explain it, you will receive from me gifts and rewards and great honor. So tell me the dream and interpret it for me." So you see what he did there? Tell me what my dream was and interpret it. He's not going to tell them the dream. He wants them to tell him. Did you catch that on the last one? So tell me the dream and interpret it. They said again, "Please tell us the dream and we will tell you what it means." "I know what you're doing. You're stalling for time because you know I am serious when I say, if you don't tell me the dream, you are doomed. So you have conspired to tell me lies, hoping I will change my mind. Tell me the dream and then I'll know that you can tell me what it means." You get an idea of this boss, this king? No one on earth can tell the king his dream. And no king, however great and powerful, has ever asked such a thing of any magician, enchanter, or astrologer. I bet the guy saying that was shaking in his boots. The king's demand is impossible. No one except the gods can tell you your dream. And they do not live here among the people. So you can kind of get a sense of what time you're living in. See that word, the gods. It wasn't just God. They worship many gods. And they're saying nobody except those gods can tell you. The king was furious when he heard this, and he ordered that all the wise men of Babylon be executed. And because of the king's decree, men were sent to find and kill Daniel and his friends. Okay, that's where we get it so far. You see, when a bad day gets worse, it's all about our response. That's where we can either make it worse, a lot worse, or dig ourselves into that hole, or we can begin to climb out of that hole. All based on how we're going to respond to that. So let's talk to him. Let's see what he responded. Here's an option I would suggest you don't do. Don't go to bed angry. Stay awake and plot your revenge. Right? Bad idea there. Bad idea. So let's see. What did Daniel say? Daniel replied. So these men came to his house. And they said, we're sent here to kill you. Here's his reply. No wise man, enchanter, magician, or diviner can explain to the king the mystery he has asked about, but there is a God in heaven who reveals mystery. Remember, Daniel stayed focused on God. He believed God could do it. He believed God was great and is able. So he says, so this is his answer to them. There is a God in heaven who reveals mysteries. He has shown King Nebuchadnezzar what will happen in the days to come. So that was his response to these people. And then, after a little more talking, he shared the entire dream and what it meant to the king. So he received that from God, and he delivered, right? So we're going to skip down to verse 46 here. Now, here's what happened when the king heard his response. Verse 46, then King Nebuchadnezzar fell prostrate before Daniel, paid him honor, and ordered that an offering and incense be presented to him. The king said to Daniel, surely your God is the God of gods and the Lord of kings, and a revealer of mysteries, for you were able to reveal this mystery. So what went from a time for Daniel to be executed and cut up into little pieces came instead to a time where he brought someone to know God in a very intimate way because of his response of, hold on, let's talk about this. So the Bible gives us lots of good ideas and examples for response. Proverbs 15:1. Now, I don't know about you, when I get overwhelmed, my temper gets shorter. Are you with me on that? You get less patient, less understanding. You're more focused on you than you are the rest of the world. A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. So if you feel yourself, you feel that blood pressure rising because somebody's saying something, best thing we can do, and it's probably the hardest, to stay quiet. It really is. Begin praying right away, my friends. Pray that this situation diffuses quickly, because I'm about to lose it, God, right? We say that. And it kind of, be a duck. I like to say, be a duck. What does that mean? You see a duck, when you pour water on its back, the water balls up and it rolls right off the duck's back. It's about being resilient, about being strong, about remembering that God is with you, and that God is in this fight with you. As a matter of fact, get out of the way and let God take the fight for you, because that's going to be the best thing you can do. Be a duck. Be resilient and let it go. Ephesians 4:26 and 27 says, in your anger, do not sin. It's not hard, friends, to read through the newspapers and look at murder cases, and they did it out of anger. They killed someone out of anger. Or they lost their career out of anger. They lost their job. They lost their family, their friends. Their life has been destroyed because of anger. Do not let the sun go down while you are angry. And do not give the devil a foothold. Boy, it's funny about that devil. He just needs the smallest thing. If he knows what can set you off, he's going to keep coming after you with that thing. Until you just finally be a duck and be resilient and then let it roll off your back, right? You can do it. So I had a friend here. I work with a friend at school, and we work with a lot of technology. And his big thing, man, he likes Diet Coke. That's his thing. You never see him without a Diet Coke. And not like a can, like one of those, not a liter bottle, like that. Was that half liter or something? That sounds about right, Mark? Half liter? So he's always drinking these Diet Cokes. And what I've noticed about him, when the technology's not working like it should, he'll drink more of the Diet Coke. Like he's an anxious drinker of Diet Coke. Would that be the right phrase, Mark? Are you with me on this? All right, good. Mark knows this friend I'm talking about. Well, this technology it failed. Epically failed for him. And he was drinking Diet Coke faster than I've ever seen him drink it. And it got to the point, the bad day got worse and worse and worse. And finally, at the end of the event, and the technology did not work, and it was at the end, he physically got sick of Diet Coke and threw up because it got to him so much. Twice. Twice, right? And so that was his response to it, So, bad stuff happens to us, and it affects us. It can affect us physically, emotionally, even spiritually. So we've got to make sure we can respond in the proper way. James 1:19 and 20 says, my dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Because human anger does not produce the righteousness that God desires. There's another thing. Listen. A lot of times if you just listen and let people talk, they're going to talk themselves right down. They might even talk themselves right out of the whole situation. They may be coming at you that deals with something else in their life, has nothing to do with you, right? But if we listen first and be slow to speak, or even just kind of redirect and ask them, what is it that's so upsetting to you? What can I do? In my personal life and kind of in our household, we have a 24-hour rule. Jennifer and I share and encourage each other. If somebody's mad at you, somebody says something to you, or emails or texts you, it's going to be 24 hours before you respond. Go ahead and type it up right away. Get it off your chest. Don't hit send. Best advice, right? Let it sit there for a night. And then the next day, if it's still that much on your mind, or maybe you can go back and take out a few words, you know what I'm saying? A few phrases, a few lines and sentences, and then maybe you can send something that's a little kinder but still address the issue. I'm not saying skirt the issue. Some things need addressed. But 24 hours, that's a real good, because if you respond right away, you're reacting. Reacting is different from responding, isn't it? Like a gut check and just throw right back. We don't want to do that. That doesn't bring what God wants us to bring. How are we honoring God with the way we respond when we're overwhelmed? Right? That's what we've got to look at. 24 hours, that's a great idea. Keep that in mind. Proverbs 16:32. I like this. Better a patient person than a warrior, one with self-control than one who takes a whole city. Right? Be kind. Be compassionate. Listen. Even when you're at the end of your rope, we still have the ability to do that, right? Even if we have to remind ourselves, I got to take a step back. I need to stop talking. I need to listen. I need to find out what's going on. I can do it. Do you have a person you can vent to? Where you can just, I called my mom up this week. I just had to do a little venting to my mom. And she did good. She just listened. If someone's venting to you, just listen. That's all they want. They just want to be heard. They don't want you to go out and take action or get your sledgehammer out, okay? They just want you to listen. And how many times when you do vent to a safe, secure person, you feel better? And then maybe it's not that big of a deal. Or your good friend reminds you, it's okay. It's not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. You're going to get past this, right? It's going to be just fine. So having somebody to vent to is great. If you are being vented on, listen and help that person. That's what they're wanting. They don't want you to solve it. They don't want you to go out and do anything. But just listen. You see, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it. That matters. We will be challenged with overwhelming events. Absolutely. Some in our control, some we brought on ourselves, some that there's absolutely nothing we can do that's still going to happen to us. But the way we respond to those makes all the difference. We can stay positive. We can remember that God loves us even during this trying time. We remember that God is always with us. But that overwhelming time will pass. It will pass. And we can do and respond in the correct ways that helps it pass. We have all had bad days. Just remember this, friends. You are not and you never will be alone. If there's not someone physically beside you, God is always with you.